I'm Richard.
And I'm Will.
And together we're
The Irreverent Nerds. Bum, bum, bum.
Hey nerds!
Hey, nerds!
Richard and your favorite nerds here, Richard and Will.
Bless
We are
you. Your
here.
favorite nerd is Urkel.
Urkel.
Okay,
Can
your
I
favorite nerd's
do
here.
that? Carl.
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't do a particularly great Urkel. You got some guns there, man.
Sorry. My computer was
Been working out.
working something out. Wrong way. I'm expanding instead of the wrong way.
I have the same problem, my friend. It's called middle age, I think.
I'm looking at you and not the camera. I'm gonna have to get used to this webcam.
Yeah, well, it's okay if you don't always look at me like, because like if you ever watch the Joe Rogan podcast or vidcast, like he's looking at his guests, so the video is like at an angle the whole time like this, so he's not typically looking at the camera. But since but right now, obviously, since we're in different different cities technically, then it makes more sense for us to look at each other. So hey guys, so
you're in the camel's hump. I'm more like in the camel's
anus
foot tracks behind him. Well, we are reverent. I was gonna say the camel's footprints and droppings, for sure.
Oh man,
I kid. I love the sound that I won't name now.
So for those of you on listening / watching us on Spotify, obviously
Camel Street.
That we're doing a video podcast this week. So backed by popular demand, you let us know through the number of listens we've had the last few episodes that you prefer the weeks where we do both video and audio. So it's coming back. I'll just have to put my nose to the grindstone and do that little bit of extra editing. And so we'll do our best to go back to the video episode and then have the audio only with bonus content each week, because those seem to be the most popular episodes thus far in our podcast. So you the listeners have spoken, and we are hearkening unto thine voices.
I have spoken.
Thou hast spoken.
Mandalorian.
Yes, this is the way.
I've spoken.
So this week, guys, we have a topic I think we're both excited to talk about. Will's shirt will give you a clue here. For those of you just listening,
it's on like Donkey Kong.
And it's a Super Mario Brothers. He's got obviously Mario on there, and then what does it look like? One of those, what do they call those flowers that eat?
Piranha plants.
Piranha plants. Yes. And then
this looks nothing like an Italian in a sweatsuit, but it is in fact a Goomba.
A Goomba, and is that King Koopa down there as well?
Yep. Bowser Koopa.
Bowser Koopa. King Koopa.
Bowser. Whatever we want to reconcile his name as.
So,
Bowser Koopa.
If you haven't guessed by now, we are talking about video games, but specifically 80s
and talking about basket weaving.
Well, that was my my throwaway credit in college, underwater basket weaving.
Mine was volleyball.
Hey, there you go. You got to meet him somewhere. Probably not going to meet him playing video games in our bedrooms or going to the arcade, although you never know.
Well, these days, the kids these days could do that with online multiplayer.
This is
we
true.
weren't so lucky.
No,
I'm sorry for interrupting. I just like to joke around.
Well, that is our shtick, as they say.
I'm very reverent towards Richard.
Like, I try to stick to the schedule, and Will tries his best to disrupt me, and I think it makes for an interesting and entertaining episode. So, so yeah, 80s 90s video games, because Will and I are old. We're in our mid 30s. I'm in my late 30s technically, and you're
Richard,
close.
I'm 37.
Well, dang, we're both in our late 30s. Then
yeah,
I knew you were close. You weren't far behind me.
Aren't we only 2 years apart?
Something like that. Yeah. I'm gonna be 39 in
39 next month.
Next month. Yeah.
That's right. His name is Richard. Next month is birthday. You can Google that and figure out his identity. No, I'm kidding.
No, I figure if anybody actually goes to that much trouble, they're going to be very disappointed because I don't have much money in my checking account. So sorry.
Well, that's only the first step.
You're just SOL, as they say. So anyway, we are children of the 80s. We were both born in the 80s, and I don't know that I played a lot of video games actually in the 80s, but I was aware of them. And I got my first console, which we'll talk about here shortly, in 1991. So, but that's just a preview.
I can guess which one it was. Guess. Do you want me to guess now or later?
Commodore 60. No. Actually, I don't know if that was a gaming system. That was a PC. Yeah, go ahead and guess.
Sega Genesis.
Incorrect.
Oh, with Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, let's continue.
Yeah. So that's a little preview. So we're gonna go through our normal opening salvos here, and then we'll get to that main topic that we just previewed for you. So, Will, my man, what's been going on in your life? Anything happy, exciting, weird, strange?
Well,
unforgettable, forgettable, whatever.
It was Father's Day yesterday. We had the nephew and niece over last night and all day today. My nephew Braden found my Spengler Neutrino wand, my proton gun, and he was excited playing with that all morning. That was nice. That put a smile on my face. In general, having the kids over put a smile on my face, and that was a lot of fun. Is there anything else? Well, I got a new art commission. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but I'm gonna make some Ghostbusters, some real Ghostbusters artwork for T-shirts. I'm not commissioned by Sony. I'm commissioned by a fan.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to give out any more details because I don't want to ruin the surprise, because they're going to be con exclusives and they're going to be given out for free. So I don't want the people that might receive those shirts, I don't know if they would tune in, but I don't want them to tune in and the surprise to be ruined.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
that is cool.
Definitely.
Speaking of con, so unfortunately, guys, I'm not gonna be able to join Mr. Boyer, but he is gonna make it down to Heroes Con
Friday instead of Saturday now.
Yeah, so he's gonna be down there on Friday. I don't think you don't have a table this year, do you?
No. I got sent out there 2 years by Charlton Neo. Paul Kupperberg and Roger McKenzie and Mort Todd and I apologize. I can't
What's
remember
up?
Your name, fourth guy.
Sorry, fourth guy.
Fester Faceplant, which is not your real birth name.
I was gonna say Fester.
Well, Fester normal, Faceplant not so much. But yeah, I did a brief thing with them to where they didn't publish anything. I penciled or inked for them, or colored, or lettered. But they did send me out to Heroes Con to man the table 2 years in a row because Roger McKenzie couldn't make it out. Dan Johnson, the assistant editor, couldn't make it out. And but I will never pay money to get a table out there until I'm actually making enough money. It's like, what is it, $600 for a table?
Oh, is it now?
I don't know. I think it might be.
I remember in like 2010, the last time we went together, I remember you telling me it was 300 back then, but 12 years is a long time.
Doubled it for inflation.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. I think it was up to 500 before the pandemic. But it doesn't matter. I have a table next month in July, and I wasn't thinking and got it, and it was $40 table, and that's fine. But I'm not going to be able to make that money back, sadly, unless I pick up some commissions or something. Or, I mean, people don't buy a lot of my books, so that's my point. I'm not going to go to Heroes Con if I can't make back $40. Well, one of my best conventions is that I made about $120, I think. a few years ago. But, so I'm just saying, that's
Hey, well,
that's my little circle halfway, Jim.
That's more than we've made on our podcast so far.
Don't tell them that. This is a great podcast. You should listen. You should send money, throw money at us.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of which,
you've never spent.
this is a good time for a plug. Before I talk about what's going on in my life, let's plug our stuff here. And actually, let's see. Hopefully this will work. I'm gonna share my screen with you, Mr. Boye, here for a second. So hopefully you all will be able to see this, but this, if you haven't been there yet, this is our anchor.fm profile. As you can see here, there's a number of different ways to listen. You can listen on the page itself. All the episodes are there, including our most recent one, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom Rewatch. My wife joined us for that one. So if you haven't listened yet, go check it out. You can listen on Spotify. Obviously, anchor.fm is connected with Spotify. I think they're owned by Spotify. They were originally separate, and then, however that works, corporate buyout, merger, or whatever. But yeah, we've been using them. They're our, I don't know what the right term is, our publisher, I guess. But here on the main page, you can find out where you can listen: Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or you can just copy the RSS feed. We got links here to our Facebook fan page, which I'll pop over there real quick. This is our Facebook fan page, The Irreverent Nerds. Not a whole lot going on there yet. We've kind of just gotten underway, but you'll see now, like, posts that I make on Instagram also typically will appear on here as well. So we'll post the same to both places. Like, here's a little video. In fact, I'll play it for you now.
And I've been posting in the community section, so I encourage you to post in the community section.
All right, I'm going to mute us here for a second. All right, so that's just a little video we made. Oh, let's see. All right, Will, you're gonna have to unmute yourself. Sorry, it won't let me do it. He's got to get up and everything. So anyway, that's just a little video promo from last week's episode, just a little excerpt.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Great.
Speaking of, that man went to Sprint, by the way, before it merged with T-Mobile. Like, he defected from Verizon, went to Sprint. Now Sprint has been absorbed, and I don't know where the man is now. The "Can you hear me now" man.
Oh,
he went to Sprint for a while, and who knows where he is now. Maybe he's doing T-Mobile advertisement somewhere.
I don't know. Maybe he's retired or moved on.
Yeah.
Commercials.
Moved on. Anyway, but there's also linked to our Instagram here, which I've already got it up here. So this is our Instagrams. So yeah, guys, if you haven't already followed us on Instagram, please do. This is where, actually, this was where the podcast started. Like, it started as an Instagram page.
Cool.
Like, it was first just called Irreverent Nerd. Like, if you go, let's see, I'll go all the way down here. But like, the very first posts that I made, like, initially I was just sharing memes, like cracked crackers, gaslight marketing. Whoa, there is no fourth movie. And of course, the classic. Oh no, my nipples are battery terminals.
Oh my gosh.
So that's how things started. So initially I was just sharing memes, because I've really gotten into that the past year, just making memes of myself. I've enjoyed them for so many years. I'm like, I'm gonna make stuff now. And then I had the idea one day just to start the podcast, and you guys obviously who have been listening for a while, you know that story a bit. And then eventually Mr. Boyer came in and joined me as my permanent co-host. He's still here. He hasn't run away yet.
Ancestry says I'm French, but I'm actually German. I defy them.
Yeah. So
Well,
anyway,
ancestry. I mean, I'm joking. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, if you haven't followed us there, you can follow us there. If you're a Facebook only kind of person, you can or if you're doing both, like us, or like me, I should say. Will's not on Instagram yet, but he's on Facebook, and he's a little more active on the Irreverent Nerds page than I am. I'm more active on the Instagram.
Oh, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
So yeah, you can both
I need to
check us out there.
Instagram on my phone.
Yeah, and one final plug here, our which again, I haven't done a whole lot with this yet, but this is our YouTube channel. And it's not available. All right,
Hey, do you want me to take video at HeroesCon for the YouTube channel, or?
Yeah, that would be fun.
Cool. I mean, you can edit it and spice it up and put in music and do whatever you want with it. I'm not trying to throw extra work on you, though. Sorry. But I'm just saying you can if you want to.
No, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. So
Shoot.
Anyway, that's a little plug for our various places you can find us online. And also on that Anchor page that you saw, you can send us a voice message, which will include on the next week's episode. You know, as long as there's not ridiculously vulgar profanity or hate speech, etc. You know, it's like, you know what I mean.
Oh, right.
Like, this podcast is for fun, you know.
Yes,
so
the internet's toxic enough.
Yeah, if it's in that spirit, we will definitely include it in next week's episode. And yeah, and also, if you'd love to support us, we would certainly appreciate that. We have one supporter so far. We'd love to have more. We'll give you a shout out if you agree to support us. There's different tiers. You can start at 99 cents a month. I mean, you pay more than that for like 2 ounces of coffee. So hey, like, you know, drink a little bit less Starbucks coffee and throw 99 cents our way if you feel like it.
We'd appreciate Starbucks for $1, Richard.
That's what I say. Like 2 ounces of a Starbucks cup of coffee, you know, be about $1. And
2 ounces. Yeah.
An entire Starbucks coffee cup, if you just give up one a month, you can have enough to send us $5 a month, and we would also appreciate that. And
if
the Hyatt
support Starbucks, $1 is nothing.
Exactly. And then of course the top tier is $10 a month. You know, Will come to your house and give you a hug and kiss if you give us $10 a month. So
Especially your feet.
He has this fetish about feet. He wanted to worship Lars Descends' feet.
I thought it was a man.
It is a man.
maybe it is a man. I thought it was. I don't know. I'm confused. I'm Will Fuller. I'm confused, darn it.
Oh man. So
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Sorry, Lars. Once again.
I thought you said his name was Laura, and I thought he was a woman. And
no, Lars.
It doesn't matter. It was a thing during our Fallen Kingdom.
Yes, yeah. Which we had a lot of fun, by the way. Those of you like I
hope our viewers did.
Yeah, not many of we didn't do a video podcast on that, which I feel like probably would have been more fun if we had. But my house was a mess at that point, so I'm like, I don't feel like cleaning. You know, we're all tired. Let's just do this thing. So we did it audio only, but we still had a lot of fun. So go check it out on anywhere podcasts are found. Pretty much, you saw the options there. So yeah, go check it out. My wife was kind of a surprise guest. Like we had talked about her joining us earlier in the day, but she never did say whether she would. But she watched the movie with us, and then as we were starting, she sat down and joined us for the rest of the podcast. So we had a lot of fun, like all three of us.
A lot of fun. I creeped your wife out with the
no, not dude. She's married to me, so yeah, that's been worse. She's heard worse.
I was talking about the lonely shepherd joke.
Oh, trust me, she's heard worse. But no, that's part of what made it funnier. Is it was mildly shocking coming from you, but it was hilarious.
I'm actually sadly and unfortunately, I have a bad inappropriate sense of humor that my wife has tried to help me. Mandy has tried to help me keep in check, But unfortunately, because I forget people are watching us, it may come out. I apologize. I'm not a Family Guy kind of person. I'm not a Family Guy cartoon series kind of person, but I do like shock humor to a degree. If I ever go too far, let me know, because I tell you what, Richard, my other friends are just silent, and I'm just like, oh, crap, I went too far. I never know. Never know.
If you do go too far, I can edit it out. So like, or just do a long like beep beep, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, well, I apologize for any of y'all watching this who thought you knew me, and when I say something inappropriate, forgive me.
Oh yeah, that's true. Like if people I just think of the people that watch my YouTube channel, they I mean, I do occasionally laugh on there, but I tend to talk about more serious topics. So it'd probably be weird for them to see me laughing as much as I laugh on this podcast. Probably, yeah.
Laughing's bad.
No, it's excellent. I think it's great. But yeah,
it is great. I'm just like, I
make myself laugh on there sometimes, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not a comedic channel, so it's a more serious topics for the most part.
Okay.
But yeah, if they came over here, and watched this, they'd be like, "Wow, he laughs a lot more than I thought he did."
Wow, he's totally not depressed.
Yeah, he's not as serious as I thought.
Don't know. Yeah, not as serious. I'm not saying you're depressed. I'm just joking. I guess I was confused. You're talking about your YouTube audience. You're not talking about people we know in real life. Because I was like, I mean, for almost 20 years, you laugh all the time.
I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, like more specifically, people who have watched me on YouTube and have not met me in person or hung out with me for any length of time. Like,
true.
But that's true for so many of us. Like if you only see a person in one particular context, whether it's at work or whatever it might be, you haven't seen the other sides of them. The sides of them maybe when they're hanging out with their family, their close friends. Most of us.
Humor,
yep. Most of us.
Keep me out of the church.
Beep.
Oh, my ankle sore. I don't know what I did there.
So anyway, we had a very long detour.
Yes.
What's going on in my life? Let's see. So yeah, Father's Day for me yesterday. This is child number 4. She's been a guest a number of times, as those of you who have followed us for a bit will know. But I have 3 other girls as well who are older, and they made some presents for me yesterday. They decorated bags, and then my second born, it was actually her idea. She asked my wife to go to the store and buy some chocolate for me. She's like, Daddy needs some chocolate.
Daddy needs more calories.
Yeah, I was like, that's exactly what he. So my wife stopped by the store on the way home from work, and she got some stuff, and then they put it in the bags. And
for Father's Day.
Yeah, for Father's Day, and then the girls brought it to me. And my second youngest, she's 2 years old. She thought some of the candy was for her, or just didn't understand that it was a present for me, and got really upset after the presentation. So I had to share a few jelly beans with her. Which I still got a few left.
Oh, yeah,
I tell you, man,
you love jelly beans.
Oh yes, Trader Joe's jelly beans are the bomb. If you have not tried them, you're missing something in your life.
Well, my Jelly Bellies. So those are better than Jelly Bellies?
Jelly Bellies have lost a step. I have to admit, they're not as good as they used to be, in my opinion. Trader
Really?
Joe's has passed them by.
Wow.
They're a little bit better, actually.
Would you say the Jelly Bellies have decreased in flavor, or would you just say you found something better?
I think their quality's gone down, to be honest with you.
What's that? Must be all those bar flavored jelly beans are putting out.
No, they're still a close number 2 for sure. But yeah, my favorite is now Trader Joe's jelly beans. So anyway, that's just a little blurb about what's going on in my life. So what have we been reading? Will, have you read anything interesting, comic book wise?
Well, it's been a week. I haven't read anything last week.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll be really short then.
Yes, it will. Yes, it is. I mean, I can show you what I should be reading. I should be reading this, but I haven't yet. Thank you, Paula, for this Christmas gift.
Nice. Is that a wait? Is that a Nazi symbol?
Yeah, it's a biography, except the Jews have been turned into mice and the Nazis turned into cats. But it is a biography of the cartoonist who made this. His father was a Holocaust survivor in the camps, in the prison camps. Is there another word I'm looking for? But some people will see this on the shelf at Walmart or something. It's even been banned in some libraries or public schools or whatever.
Oh, because of the symbol.
Yeah, probably. And I apologize, of course, to anybody who is offended. But see, the purpose of this book is to talk about it is from the point of a Holocaust survivor. This is not glorifying the Nazi regime. This is a history right here. It's a very personal story.
Oh,
I
that's
haven't
cool.
read it yet. I need to read it, and I haven't read it yet. It's a very famous comic book.
Well, when you
yeah, it's winner of the Pulitzer Prize.
Oh, dang. We should totally do an episode on that at some point.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'd love to do something that comic book wise that it has nothing to do with superheroes, and there's a lot more to choose from nowadays too in that vein. Like there's a lot of more serious comics and just a much broader range than perhaps there was in the past. Yeah.
You should definitely check
Calvin
out
and
Bill
Hobbes.
Watterson. Yep.
Yes.
And Hobbes.
Careful there.
Well, let's not do that again.
So yeah, let's see. What have I been reading? Let's see.
Okay,
well,
I'm back. I'm not putting that book back. That was a no.
So I have been reading a couple of different comic books nowadays. Like I have Kindle Unlimited, so there's certain comic books that they have available on there as part of the subscription. So that's where I read a lot of my comic books these days. I know that might be sacrilegious or blasphemous or something, but
You got Spanglish, the print is dead.
But no, yeah, like I do have some print comic books as well, but yeah, a lot of the newer ones that I read nowadays, or just in general ones that I read, are on my Kindle. So there's one there's a story of Captain America, and this particular story takes place now I was not privy, like it kind of jumps you in the middle a bit, as is often the case. Even if you jump into a new series in the comic books, it often references older series and stuff. So apparently someone impersonated Captain America and either became president or like somehow became dictator of the US. I don't know exactly what, but like
I know the story.
Yeah, and then
I can fill you in on that, but tell me.
Well, they do give you a decent amount of background details. So like this imposter Captain America did a lot of damage, and then Hydra comes in on under the auspices of a revolution, and basically overthrow fake Captain America, evil, and then they basically take over the US government, and like I think some other governments as well, and essentially they're like taking care of the common people, but ultimately for the purposes of controlling them. At least that's the way it's implied. And Captain America then comes back. I don't know exactly where he was in the interim. Yeah, like it has some overtones. So obviously Hydra has Nazi overtones. I mean, you definitely see that in the MCU. And
they can't use real Nazis because they're offensive, so they use Hydra instead.
I guess that makes sense. But
I've read that. I've read that that's true.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. I guess it'd be easier, like just to make up a faux, sort of like Star Trek in the 60s. They did a lot of social commentary, but through the medium of science fiction, and you make it an alien instead of a Nazi, what have you. Although I think they did have an episode with Nazis. Now that I think about it.
Really?
I think
the original series. The original series.
I believe so, or at least definitely a proxy for Nazis.
Okay, but I need to see that. Yeah, that's interesting.
I forget the name of the specific episode. I think they I think they go back and they either go back in time or they land on a
Yeah.
planet where the aliens are like, I don't know if they studied Earth history and decided to imitate a certain period or what.
How would you feel if the U.S. Enterprise accidentally warped the wrong way and found themselves in Star Wars space? And they got the Empire and Darth Vader.
Well, it does say a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So who's to say that didn't happen in the same universe as Star Trek, just like thousands of years before in a distant galaxy?
It's going to make you wonder what's happening in Star Wars today.
I know. Yeah. Like there's Jedi out there somewhere, right? Have they arrived yet on Earth?
Bigfoot is actually a Wookiee.
Hey. Oh, dude, somebody should do a comic book of that.
But, well,
E.T. Chewbacca's family.
you do know that E.T. is a Star Wars movie, right? Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Not sure actually. What are you talking about?
The race of aliens that is E.T. is in the Star Wars prequels.
Seriously?
Yes, seriously. They're in the council when Palpatine is talking. There, you can see two or three of them in one of the boxes, and it's been confirmed that that's what they are. It's a cameo, actually.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Wait, is it in Return of the Jedi?
No. I'm talking about the prequels. It might.
The prequels. The prequels.
Either the second.
Oh, I see. Yeah, sorry, my brain was somewhere else. That's funny. Little inside joke between Lucas and Spielberg, I guess.
Yeah, it was actually. That's all it was. But I like to say that E.T. is a Star Wars movie now.
No, that's fun.
Yeah,
that's fun. Well, let's see. We're coming up on the end of our first segment here. So we've done all our preliminaries and our early segments, and so our second segment, I guess, will be our main topic: 80s and 90s video games. So we'll be right back. What were you gonna say, Will?
I'm sorry I interrupted you earlier, by the way. I mean, that's why I'm here. But anyway, so the fake jerk. The fake Captain America was actually the real Captain America, but the Red Skull used an Infinity Cube stone thing to change history. He changed history to where Captain America's mother was actually brainwashed by Hydra or something, and so he was actually raised as into Hydra, but he was pretending to be Captain America on the American side. He was kind of like a sleeper agent in this new history. And then the Captain America that you see come back is actually the old real Steve Rogers, who was trapped inside the cube. It's not called an Infinity Cube, but what was that cube in the early MCU films?
Yeah, I know what you're talking. Tesseract.
Tesseract.
Yeah.
So his mind.
We got like 20 seconds.
Soul was in the Tesseract. I'm done.
Awesome. We'll be back after these messages, my friends.
Do that.
Smithers, who are these irreverent nerds? Well, sir, they're the hosts of this podcast. What's a podcast? Well, sir, it's kind of like a radio show. Ah, I see. Like The Shadow or CBS News. Yes, sir. I think we should buy it. I don't think it's for sale, sir. Poppycock, I just bought Twitter. I can buy this podcast. Alright, sir. I'll talk to them and see what they say. Excellent.
And we are back.
I like that. What voice was that?
I don't know. That was me being me, I guess. We are back. Yeah.
Yeah, we're back, yeah.
Since we talked about
Germans.
By the way, modern Germans are actually pretty darn cool. So
Yes.
love to say that.
Yes. No offense to modern day Germans or
No,
Germans of any kind. I mean, there were a lot of people in that war that didn't know they were the bad guys and then knew they were the bad guys, and they got executed or thrown into camps too. I'm just like what Richard said. We're not saying anything bad about Germans.
No.
My last name is German. My family came from like Switzerland or something. Probably originally Germany before that.
Yeah, no, and my roots, like, I'm sure go back to Germanic peoples at some point, like, because they many of them settled in the UK, which is where the majority of my bloodline comes from, in the Isle of Britain, as they say. Up near Scotland actually is where majority of my genetic material hails from, apparently. Yeah, anyway, so I thought we'd start off here by reading just a little bit of the history of video game consoles. So I'm gonna share screen again here. So this is on, thanks to the good old Wikipedia. So, hey, anybody who knows whether this is inaccurate, first of all, go to Wikipedia and present a correction, whatever the process is for that. And second of all, let us know too. So, but assuming this is relatively accurate, I'm gonna read this little blurb here at the beginning. So, the history of video game consoles, both home and handheld, had their origins in the 1970s. The concept of home consoles used to play games on a television set was founded by the 1972 Magnavox Odyssey, first conceived by Ralph H. Baer in 1966. Handheld consoles bore out from electromechanical games that had used mechanical controls and light-emitting diodes as visual indicators. Handheld electronic games had replaced the mechanical controls with electronic and digital components, and with the introduction of liquid crystal display to create video-like screens with programmable pixels, systems like the Microvision and the Game & Watch became the first handheld video game consoles, and fully realized by the Game Boy system. Since then, home game consoles have progressed through technology cycles typically referred to as generations, each lasting approximately 5 years, during which competing manufacturers have produced consoles with similar specifications. With underlying improvements to technology such as smaller and faster microprocessors, digital communications, and changes to business models, a new generation of consoles has evolved from the previous one. This has led to a shifting landscape of console manufacturers in the marketplace. While early generations were led by manufacturers like Atari and Sega, the current modern generations have come down to three major competitors: Nintendo, Sony Interactive Entertainment, and Microsoft. Handheld consoles have seen similar advances, though typically are grouped into the same generations as home consoles. While there were larger numbers of manufacturers in the earlier generations for handhelds, which included Nintendo, Atari, Sega, and Sony, the handheld market has waned since the introduction of mobile gaming in the mid-2000s, and as of today, the only major manufacturer in handheld gaming is Nintendo. Hey, it's a me. So, in honor, given how much of the roots of video games that we played growing up go back to Japan, I am eating a green tea mochi ball.
Wow!
In honor of this topic,
I didn't buy it so I can have one.
I didn't buy it for this, but I thought this would be appropriate. So I got this actually for Father's Day yesterday. They're really good. Cool, Trader Joe's makes them. They're very excellent.
I remember when Pokemon lied and told us those were donuts.
So, Will,
sorry, those were rice cakes.
While I'm eating this delicious treat, tell me about your first memories with video games.
Okay, now that we're done with that very boring Wikipedia article, let's get on to the exciting stuff, which is being able to really feel a connection with your fellow nerds. Okay, so my first video games was probably the arcade. It was the mid to late 80s. I was born in 85, so it was definitely not mid 80s. I was 80s. But it was somewhere between, maybe I was 2 to 4 years old. I don't know. It's hard to say, to be honest. But arcades, I played a lot of different arcades. Pac-Man, and more likely than not, Mrs. Pac-Man was easier to find. Galaga. What was that other one that was like Galaga? But I played that one too. Galaxia, that's it.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, and which I need to look that up one day because I always wondered why Galaga and Galaxia, are they clones of each other? You know, what came first? Are they made by the same person? I don't know. But anyway, so
now, was that what The Last Starfighter was? That like sort of an homage to those games?
Probably. You know what? That's one of Dan Johnson, my friend Dan Johnson's favorite movies. What did you call it?
The Last Starfighter.
The Last Starfighter. I have not seen it. I need to go see that film. I don't know where to go. Is it? Can I stream it somewhere? I don't know.
Probably. Yeah. Episode idea. Anyway,
hey, that's a great idea.
I interrupted you this time, so continue.
That's fine. It's fair play, right? Loving the war.
Turnabout is fair play.
Let's see. Donkey Kong. Was one I really loved. There was Mario, the original Mario Brothers, not Super Mario Brothers, the original Mario Brothers. Hamburger Time. There was a lot of really good Mappy Land. There's a lot of really good arcade games out there. And then I got my own console, and that was an Atari, probably the 2600, I guess, but it was an Atari. And that was actually a hand-me-down from my dad. My mom gifted it to my dad while they were dating in the late 70s to early 80s.
Okay.
Maybe early 80s. I don't know. When did the Atari come out, the console? I'm not sure.
Somewhere in there, late 70s, early 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got to play Donkey Kong at home, and I hated that joystick with a passion because it was really stiff and hard to move, and I couldn't get Mario to do what the crap I wanted him to do because I never got past the first level in that Atari Donkey Kong. I absolutely never did. I also played Tank Battle, and I don't know, I probably had another one, and then because I was young and curious and didn't know any better, I found my dad's 8-tracks. 8-tracks. You remember 8-tracks, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, you're only 2 years older, but you're older. So I'd be like, oh, it's another Atari cartridge. Why isn't it doing anything? Tried them all. So that was my original. And then my original experience with video games, and I moved on to Nintendo. And I feel I can stop there. You know, what was your introduction to video games?
So my first memory of video games, I was looking up here, I believe the Atari 2600 came out around 1976, thereabouts. So
cool.
we were saying, like mid-late 70s. It was a part of what's considered the second generation of video game consoles.
I had Pong on the Atari. Didn't Pong come out in the late 70s, or am I confused?
Yeah, Pong was like an arcade game, like a table game, I think. It's actually like on TV screen inside of tables a lot of times. But yeah, my first memory of connected to video games was with the Atari 2600. It was at my cousin's house in, I think it was Indiana. Like my family was up there and we were visiting them. And this, I guess, would have been probably late 80s, somewhere around that time, mid to late 80s. And I remember them having the Atari 2600. And I'm sure Pong was probably on there. Donkey Kong might have been as well. That seems familiar. But I just remember playing it at their house, and seeing them play it. And they had this 70s style orange shag carpet, the dirty orange shag carpet. And one of those TVs that also looks like a piece of furniture,
My parents still have one of those.
Do they?
Yeah, I don't think anyone uses it though.
Probably not.
We actually have a TV on top of it, a flat screen TV on top of the console TV.
That's funny. Now it's a TV stand. The TV, it's literally a TV stand.
Exactly.
But anyway, but yeah, that was my first memory. And then
great memories. I need room in my house just for shag carpet and the console TV.
Yeah, and I think around the same time period, my my uncle, who also lived up that way, I think he was up in Ohio. He he had bought his kids. They were a little older than me. He had bought them a Nintendo, and they had the original Super Mario Brothers on it. And I remember playing that at their house one time, somewhere in the late '80s, I think, mid to late '80s. So I was fairly young, so at the time. But yeah, I did not get my own console until 1991. But we'll start that topic. Well, you mentioned yours already, I guess. So I guess I can talk about mine. So your first one was the Atari 2600. You said it was a hand-me-down.
Oh, yeah.
So my first was the original Nintendo. Now not like
in 91. Cool.
Yeah, like it was still around in 91. Like I can't remember if the Super Nintendo had come out yet at that point. I think so. I think it had.
Yeah, I think so. Sega came out Genesis with about 1990 and I think, and they were already in the console wars.
Yeah, and if I'm trying to remember, I don't know if it was Christmas of 91 was when I got my Nintendo. And because the Nintendo had been out for a while at that point, it came with Super Mario Brothers 3. And it came with 2 controllers. Because it was well, I guess the original one was 2 players as well, but yeah, it came with 2 controllers. And I got that in 91. So that was my very first console. And then I don't remember what the second game I owned was, but I do remember us going to, like, back then, I mean, you had your Blockbusters and video rental stores that also rented video games. But back then you could go to a grocery store and they had like a video rental room a lot of times where you could rent either video games or video VHS tapes, probably laser discs too at some point. So I remember
Lowe's Food. I think it was Lowe's. I remember that.
Oh, I do remember what my second game was now. It was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one.
Oh, the first one.
I think that was my the second game I owned. Yeah.
We need to talk about that, Richard.
Yeah. So like we could talk about games next on our first 2 consoles. You talked a little bit about your games. Like did you get a Nintendo at some point?
Yeah, that was my second console, which would be the first console bought solely for Robert and my brother Robert and I. And sorry to interrupt you so much. I'm just excited to hear.
Oh yeah, you're good, man.
I mean, Super Mario Brothers 3 is a fantastic game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to knock the original Ninja Turtle game. I mean, it's good in its own right, but it was super hard.
It was, yeah. To this day, I've not beaten it.
No, I haven't either. I watched someone on YouTube sometime in the past year beat it. And that was just mind blowing. I mean, I was like, I'm not going to do this. But so my games were, I had the original Super Mario Brothers, and this is probably late '80s that I had the Nintendo. I don't fully remember what year it was, but I remember when Sega Genesis. I got my Sega Genesis in '92, and that came after my Nintendo. So I'm just gonna say, I rocked the Nintendo until I'm about '92. But
nice. I also got my Sega Genesis in 1992.
Cool. Did it come with Sonic 2? I got Sonic.
It did, yeah. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Did you get the newer style console, or was it the old style?
Yeah, the second version.
Like the smaller one?
No. I think that was the third version. I didn't get the original one with the wood paneling and the volume switch on it. I got the second one.
Okay, the one that had like the dome and it was a lot. It was wider. Okay, so I got the third version, but it's interesting though. I got it the same year.
That is interesting. Did you get it later that year? I got mine. Shoot.
Oh, did you get yours for your birthday? That would have been the beginning of '92, right? January.
I must have gotten mine in '93. Actually, I don't know.
I got mine for
Sonic 2 didn't come out until Sonic Tuesday in February. So that doesn't make sense. I must have gotten mine the following Christmas.
So I got it.
'92.
Yeah, that's when I got mine. Christmas of '92. Cool. I guess they must have had both options still at that point.
I guess so.
But I got the smaller, the third gen or the third design, whatever you want to call it. Which I guess mine was like it wasn't as easy to connect it to Sega CD, which came out a little later.
Yeah.
So I think your version was probably easier to connect to Sega CD. Although, well, actually, I'm not sure. Now I think about
I
it.
never had Sega CD, although I wanted it. Did you have the Sega CD?
I did not. I always wanted it as well. Like, I think they even advertised it on the back of my Sega Genesis box, and I was like, "That's so cool." There was like this one detective game where within the game itself it had actual video footage.
Yeah.
I was like, "Wow!"
I heard of that. I've seen some clips. Yeah.
Games on CD-ROM.
So we should probably jump back to Nintendo unless you want to keep going.
Well, so here's a good question. What was your favorite game to play on the original Nintendo?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. Hands down, that was it. It had 2 extra levels in it with the 2 new bosses, that Ninja Shogun robot and the polar bear from outer space. It's cool. Loved it.
I think that was definitely one of my favorites as well. Trying to remember. I don't think I ever owned it, but I rented it multiple times, if memory serves me.
Yeah, I didn't have the original Ninja Turtles, but I rented that one. That's how it felt for me, anyway.
No, I love that game too. And there's a couple others I really liked that I rented multiple times. One was Battletoads, if you remember that. And then there was this one. I don't think I owned it. It was a DuckTales game, I believe.
Oh yeah, the original. Yeah, there was a DuckTales 1 and a DuckTales 2 by Capcom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is a good game. If we ever get the chance to hang out, I own the remastered version of DuckTales, and you should play it. You should
nice.
Play it sometime.
Yes, that would be fun. Speaking of remastered versions, since we're talking about Nintendo, I just wanted to show this little piece of hardware here. Cool. I got this. My brother-in-law and my sister got this for me the last Christmas, I believe. So it's the NES Classic Edition, but it's the little mini one, it's so tiny. But it's got 30 games digitally loaded onto it.
Oh yeah.
I'm assuming you can load other ones on too, but it's got like Super Mario Brothers, Metroid, Pac-Man, Legend of Zelda, Kirby's Adventure. That was another one I enjoyed, Kirby's Adventure. But yeah, I think as for my favorites, it's probably a tie between Super Mario Bros. 3 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. I liked both of those a lot. And so yeah. But no, I need to play this thing a little bit more. Like I'm so busy. It's like I just haven't gotten around to it too much, and then I'm tired and like I just want to watch TV instead of playing something that takes effort.
I hear you 100%. I've got a few select games from my collection behind me, and I don't have time to play any of them. I played the Nintendo Switch though, and the 3DS, because I can take those to work. But I don't have time to play it at the house. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I could make time for it if I really enjoy it. I could play it instead of watching something on TV. But yeah, I do need to get some use out of this thing. But no,
if you want to sell it. I could buy
when I got it, I told my brother-in-law, it's like, you've made an old man happy.
Yes. They don't make those anymore, so don't sell it. But if you do sell it to
me. No, I don't plan on selling it.
Good.
No.
I regret it.
But yeah, it's so on to our second console, or for you, I guess your third console, but your Sega Genesis. So I guess we'll start off with so we both, Sonic Hedgehog 2 was the first game both of us owned.
Oh yeah.
On Sega Genesis. And did your brother play with you? Did he play Tails? You got some figurines. Nice.
Yeah, I was I've always been a trickster. I hid under my bed and called my brother and told him it was finally his turn to play. First player, and he came in there, picked up the Sega Genesis controller, except I left out the second controller and I was playing under the bed. He was trying to figure out why Sonic wasn't doing what he wanted it to Sonic to do.
Oh man, that's mean.
Yeah, I know. I was terrible when I was a kid to my brother, but anyway, yeah, we did. I think me and my bud Tom Gray, actually, I think we played Sonic and Tails like that a lot more together. We beat Sonic 3 and Knuckles together like that.
Yeah, and that's one, like there
Yeah.
wasn't a whole lot you could do with Tails and Sonic 2, but when Sonic
No.
3 came around, like that, there was a lot more that Tails could do. And I think I remember my sister playing with me some on Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but once we got 3, like we definitely played together more. And I think we rented Knuckles a few times and played that as well. Like my sisters always liked Knuckles. They thought he was cute for some reason. Like,
I don't know.
to each his own, or his personality was cuter or something.
They say in the new Sonic 2 movie, Knuckles is the sexy Knuckles.
Didn't we I think we made a joke about that a few episodes back. It's like, hasn't Knuckles always been sexy? Or something like that.
We probably did. It was probably a lot more appropriate than the fat thing I said the other day.
Excuse me. But yeah, like Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was a really awesome game. Like that.
Oh yeah.
That's definitely one of my top 3 Sega Genesis games. Even all the years I had it, like that's one of my top 3. Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
They're re-releasing it remastered, and there are new cartoon cutscenes. You get to play Sonic 1, 2, 3 and CD. All the levels back to back to back is one giant adventure.
Nice.
Did you know that Sonic 3, the music was originally produced by Michael Jackson and his team, and Sega denied it for a long time.
Really?
So but that's the reason that they didn't put out Sonic 3 in any other form or fashion, is because there were legal problems with the music or something.
Huh. So they didn't want to give Jackson credit.
Well, that was
you would think that would be
be
a selling point.
It was, but after he worked on it, one of the rumors is that he one of his teammates said that turned out he didn't like how his music sounded through the Sega Genesis synthesizer. He couldn't make his music sound the way he wanted it to, and then by the time right before the game released, the stories that Sega took his name out for the credits, because that was when he started getting in trouble for the child molestation.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying he really did it.
Yeah,
he really did it.
Is when the rumors or the accusations started coming out.
Yeah, and that's the whole issue right there. Because if that hadn't happened, I'm pretty positive. Because Sega did the Michael Jackson video game where Michael Jackson moonwalks to see.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so they had a good relationship, and then Michael Jackson, after all that clears up, he comes back on the Dreamcast, the Sega Dreamcast. He's in Space Channel. Was it Space Channel number 9? I think.
Oh, is it? I don't recall.
Well,
I never did have a Dreamcast. Yeah. I wanted one.
I wish I still had mine. I missed it. But I think that Michael Jackson and Sega had a good relationship at one time. But since we were talking about Sonic 3, I thought about talking about that. Sonic, the remaster is coming out called Sonic Origins, and they took the music out of Sonic 3, and they're replacing it with new music because of this. This is how they're going to finally re-release Sonic 3.
Huh. Well, if you get a copy, we'll have to play it together, or if one of us
afford it.
Yeah. I
want it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure. We'll find someone who has it and go to their house and play it with them.
I have to make a new friend because I don't know.
Exactly. All right, so let's see. So there was another game that I really loved on my Sega Genesis, and I got it a couple of Christmases later. And this is so Christmas of 1995, I believe it was. So I was, and I was starting to get into sports more at that time. So I was starting to get into basketball and stuff and get more interested in sports. So my parents got me NBA Action 95 for Christmas that year. And I played that thing to death over the next few years, man. Like it was such a cool game. Like you could play, I don't know if it was the very first game to offer this option, but you could create your own players. You could name them, give them skill sets, like choose their appearance. And you could do, I think it had a draft where you could do a draft and then you could do a season with your team. So like I had some good buddies at the time. There was 3 or 4 of us around the same age that we hung out. And we would play all kinds of sports together. We would do basketball together, football, street hockey, all kinds of stuff. So typically, like when I made a team, like, you know, I would create them as players and I would create myself as a player and just go through whole seasons with it. And that was so much fun. Like I played that game a lot. And like after I got it, I'm sure I played it as much, if not more than Sonic the Hedgehog. And I just enjoyed the drafting process and the creating of the players and like the strategy involved and stuff. And then obviously the sport of basketball itself was growing on me at the time. And, you know, I ended up like 8th grade, I ended up playing YMCA basketball and played a couple of years in high school as well. So that was like my sport back then. And so that was one of my favorite Sega Genesis games. Did you have another one that you really liked or really enjoyed?
I think that the Sega Genesis had some of my favorite titles. I mean, obviously, I had all the Sonic games, except for Spinball. I didn't have Spinball. I didn't have Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. I'm talking about and I didn't have Sonic 3D Flicky's Island. I had the good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the really good ones, no knock on people who love Spinball.
So you had 1, 2, and 3, and then Knuckles.
Yeah, but so other games, I liked Tiny Toons, Buster's Treasure Hunt or something, Treasure Adventure, Treasure Hunt, Quest for the Treasure. I don't remember what it's called. I like that. Did not have any sports games because sports games to me are the devil. The devil. I had baseball on the Game Boy, just baseball. That was the name, and that was enough for me, just baseball. But jokes aside, what did I have? I had Jurassic Park, the original one. The second,
yes,
yeah, I loved it. I beat it. I beat it. I think with both. I beat it with both characters. Beating that game with Alan Grant was super hard. Beating it with the Velociraptor was super easy. Just saying, if you can be a raptor, be a raptor.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but so I had that one. I rented a lot of things. There were a lot of games that were probably bad that I rented and I enjoyed because I had bad taste. The
like
the Cheetos?
Contra or Battle Axe or something, or I'm throwing names out there.
Those are very famous. I played Contra in the arcade, but no.
Like Tekken.
Chester Cheetah. Chester Cheetah had a few games. You know, the mascot for Cheese Puffs.
Yeah.
He had some video games on the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, which I eventually got the Super Nintendo too, maybe 94. But
here's our next topic. Yeah. Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis?
Oh, man, why you do this to me, Richard? Why you make me force me to choose a child? Well, that's the problem. I don't know. Oh, Aladdin on the Sega Genesis.
Oh yeah.
Was better. I loved it, and it was better than the Super Nintendo version for several reasons. The music was better, the animations were better, and you had a sword. But we can't choose between consoles just based on Aladdin. See, that's really difficult. I'm gonna say Genesis because that was my first love, and to be honest, the Super Nintendo was very. Philip Hutchins, my great friend Philip Hutchins. Shout out to you, my dear friend Phil. he was the Super Nintendo guy as far as my childhood self was concerned. I had the Genesis, he had the Super Nintendo. If I wanted to play Super Nintendo, I went to his house. We played Mario Kart. We played Street Fighter 2, probably Turbo. I don't know. We played Street Fighter 2, and we had a blast doing it. But when I finally got my Super Nintendo, I was playing Pokemon on the Game Boy, and I just feel, and I didn't have a lot of games on the Super Nintendo, so I honestly just feel like my Super Nintendo did not get enough love. Speaking of Super Nintendos, like Richard, I got this.
Nice.
I don't have the box. This is a copy I got from GameStop that they had fixed. There was something wrong with it. It's refurbished. They still got the void green sticker on the back, but
nice.
But yeah, I did hack cheat it. But I'm not going to talk about anything that's going to get me called out by the FBI. I did hack cheat it. I can help you, but you must not speak of such things publicly. But
Napster, no.
But yeah, I'm gonna say for me it was Sega Genesis because there were so many games on that system that I loved. I played a lot, and just more than the Super Nintendo. And the Super Nintendo, there are some really great games on there, but I just didn't love it enough. I didn't play it enough. It was an underused console for me. I feel like I didn't spend enough time with it. But I did play I owned Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, and that was probably my favorite Super Nintendo game. But yeah, I mean, what about you? Any other Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo games that you loved?
Oh man. So back Christmas in 1992, my dad, I remember my dad coming to my room, and it was probably either early December or November, somewhere in there, where they were planning their Christmas shopping, and he decided, it's probably his decision, I imagine.
Yeah.
He decided to give me a preview of what I was going to be getting, and he gave me a choice. They gave me a choice, so you can have either a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis. And I don't remember what all my reasons were at the time, but I chose Sega Genesis. And so like after already having two consoles, like, you know, I couldn't be like, hey mom, dad, can I have a third one?
Yeah.
You know, so those were my two throughout the 90s. But I tell you, there were some games on the Super Nintendo that at times made me regret that choice. Star Fox definitely was one. Awesome. I played that at some friends' houses, probably at Toys R Us as well. You know, you go to Toys R Us and you just stand there and play the games.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's where I played Sonic the Hedgehog for the first time. The original was at Toys R Us. And but yeah, Star Fox, and then Super Mario World was a really cool game. Donkey Kong Country, of course, really cool game. And I think there's another one, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, the one where they go to the
Turtles
future.
in Time.
Turtles in Time, yes.
That's a really good one. I have it here.
Nice. Dude,
But,
we definitely need to play it.
We do. We should get together.
Yeah, that game, I was like, why did it only release on the Super Nintendo? That's not fair.
Well, Sega Genesis had its own version.
Did they?
Called.
I was trying to remember.
There
was something. Yeah, there was something that was different about it, though, right? Like,
speaking of that, the Manhattan Project, Team of 3 on the NES. That was great.
Yeah.
So the Hyperstone Heist was the one that Sega Genesis had. Team of Hyperstone Heist. And I didn't play a lot of it, but to me it seems like it's Turtles in Time, but they mixed up the levels or something in a different order. I don't know.
Yeah, that was interesting. But I think I played it, I forget where, but I played it on, it's probably Toys R Us once again. Rest in peace, Toys R Us. Yeah, Toys R Us, may it live forever. No.
Well, they're coming back in Macy's or something.
Are they?
Like little kiosks in Macy's.
Oh, that's cool. It lives on.
But Canada still has them full force.
I'm surprised Macy's is still around, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a miracle too. Must be that parade.
A miracle on 34th Street.
Yes, it is.
Excuse me.
Killing Richard.
Right, so
killing him.
So we got about 3 minutes left in this segment.
Shoot.
So is there any other 80s, 90s memories that you want to highlight related to video games? Like, did you get another console in the 90s?
Yeah. I got the PlayStation. I got the N64. We're doing another segment, or is this it?
Well, maybe at some point we'll do
Okay.
the aughts, if you, as you say, the 2000s, 2010s, but like nice. So you had an N64.
This is, dang it, we have less than 3 minutes.
2 minutes and 52 seconds and counting.
Is a gold cartridge.
Nice.
I did have Zelda 2 gold cartridge on the NES. Anyway, this is just a prize in my collection. All the paperwork is still in here.
Nice.
This gold Ocarina of Time. But yeah, I have the PlayStation. I have the N64. We should get together because I want you to play Star Fox 64.
Heck yeah.
One of my first Star Fox was my favorite. But yeah, I had those. I had Game Boy. Did I have a Game Boy Color? I think I did. I think I maybe did. But yeah, and I definitely have one now, which I modded with a new screen on here, but LPI or something, I forget. But yeah, I had all this stuff out here I wanted to show you guys, but it's gonna have to wait.
Yeah, like we'll definitely do another episode on video games at some point.
IPS screen.
For sure. Like, and I always wanted a handheld console, and my parents wouldn't let me get one. Probably wisely so, because they're like, you're going to be playing this all the time in your room.
Okay, Mom.
Which they were probably right. Like, I wanted the Game Gear with the TV edition where you could watch TV on your Game Gear.
Those were the destroyers of batteries, though. That Game Gear.
I'm sure.
I wanted the Nomad. That's
yeah, me too.
Wanted.
Yeah, when that came out, and then I also wanted the Atari Lynx. You remember that?
Oh, yes and no.
Like, they didn't come out
about it.
They didn't come out with very many games for it, but it was the first 16-bit handheld system to come out.
True.
And in fact, Atari also came out with the first 64-bit console system, but their marketing department sucked and they ended up dying. Like, the company itself, like, now they only make games and that's all they do. They don't make computers anymore or consoles. So yeah, something went wrong there, but they're not completely dead yet. They still make video games. So that's
who we were talking about. I zoned out.
Atari.
Atari. Yeah. Sega too. Atari did put out a new console recently, but I don't think
did they?
Yes, but we'll talk about that later. I think it kind of flopped, but we'll talk about that later. It's got wood paneling on it. It's not powerful. We'll tell you that right now.
All right, nerds. We'll see you next time. Stay tuned for Japan Jaunt and Sci-Fi Focus.
I'm sorry there was no JJ last week, but we got one today.
Yes, indeed. Peace, fellow nerds.
This is Will Boyer here, Cartoonist Will, with another Japan Jaunt. On today's Japan Jaunt, I was originally going to talk about the history of Nintendo. Nintendo, as a company, has been around for 133 years. Yes, that's right. But their history is so sordid, for everything from playing cards to Mickey Mouse to the Yakuza to sex hotels and taxis and food services. That is going to be one episode all by itself. I need more research. Instead, we're going to talk about the story of Super Mario Bros. 2 USA. Yes, this is Japan Jaunt, but this is a Japanese video game, and this is a story that takes place in Japan. Well, a little bit in America too, but... So, for those of you who don't know, Super Mario Bros. 2 on the NES is not the original Super Mario Bros. 2. The original Super Mario Bros. 2 played exactly like the original Mario, except it was very difficult. Very difficult. The original Super Mario Bros. 2 was created as a more challenging version of the original game. I mean, the levels are definitely different. It had levels taken out of an arcade game called Versus Super Mario Brothers, but it also had brand new levels. But it was very difficult, very challenging, very punishing. And so when Nintendo of America, a tester, tested it, he sent back word saying, this will not bring joy to American children, basically. So, Nintendo of Japan scrambled. They needed a new Mario game quick for the holiday season. They completed Mario Brothers 2 in only 4 months. I mean, they reused all the assets from the original game. I mean, you know, it really was just hard mode. So, they originally did have a sequel to Super Mario Brothers 2 that was different. It was a vertical scroller instead of a side scroller, and you would throw your partner character, the second player, up in order to advance in the stage. However, this was scrapped because the gameplay was too challenging for the hardware at the time. And so they went on to the more challenging Mario. Now, this gameplay had actually been used and refined for a game called Doki Doki Panic. Actually, there's a first name, I forget, I think it might be Yume Koji or something. I should have wrote it down. But anyway, it translates to English as Dream Factory, and Doki Doki, as I remember from my days of trying to do some American manga, is the onomatopoeia of a heart pounding in Japanese. And paniku actually is the Japanese word used there in the title. Obviously, is an English transliteration of panic. This translates to Dream Factory Heart Pounding Panic, basically. So, this game was made for a client. There was a Dream Factory, kind of a fair, or, well, not a fair, an expo maybe? Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, this game was originally made for a client of Nintendo's. It starred 4 Arabic characters, Islamic characters. It was set in an Arabic land. But like I said, this was originally the idea for Super Mario Brothers 2, but it got scrapped because it was too ambitious for the hardware. Well, when Nintendo of Japan needed a Super Mario Brothers 2 that would be less challenging and easier for new players to get into, especially American children, they turned back to this, and now legally they owned all the assets to this game except for the 4 main characters, the Arabic characters. So they took this game and basically ROM hacked it, putting in the Mario Brothers, Princess Peach, and Toad. Now, in Super Mario Brothers 2, that eventually did come to America as Super Mario Brothers The Lost Levels. I'm talking about the Japanese Super Mario Brothers 2. In that one, I learned today, thanks to, I should have wrote my sources down. I don't have a piece of paper on me today, but the Gaming History channel, I think, on YouTube. Anyway, my apologies for not being able to cite all my sources. I also did some reading on Nintendo Wire, but that's for the, I think that's for the history of Nintendo. That was getting a little too much. That's going to be its own thing. I need more research. Anyway, so in The Lost Levels, the original Mario Brothers 2, Luigi can jump higher than Mario. So, I didn't know that until today, so it's good to know that, because that's what they did for the USA Super Mario Bros. 2. Mario and Luigi play different from each other. Obviously, Peach and Toad do as well. Anyway, so Super Mario Bros. 2 in the USA was originally not a Mario game, even though the gameplay was originally supposed to be a Mario game. And that is today's Japan Jaunt. If you didn't know it, Super Mario Bros. 2 originally wasn't Super Mario Bros. 2. It was Doki Doki Panic. Dream Factory Doki Doki Panic. Anyway, until next time, y'all stay awesome. And sayonara, Cartoonist Will signing out. Goodbye.
For today's Sci-Fi Focus, I'll be reading an excerpt from the works of H.P. Lovecraft. The Nameless City, written January 1921, first published in The Wolverine, issue number 11, November 1921, pages 3 to 15. When I drew nigh the nameless city, I knew it was accursed. I was traveling in a parched and terrible valley under the moon, and afar I saw it protruding uncannily above the sands, as parts of a corpse may protrude from an ill-made grave. Fear spoke from the age-worn stones of this hoary survivor of the deluge, this great-grandmother of the eldest pyramid, and a viewless aura repelled me and bade me retreat from antique and sinister secrets that no man should see, and no man else had dared to see. Remote in the desert of Araby lies the nameless city, crumbling and inarticulate, its low walls nearly hidden by the sands of uncounted ages. It must have been thus before the first stones of Memphis were laid, and while the bricks of Babylon were yet unbaked. There is no legend so old as to give it a name, or to recall that it was ever alive. But it is told of in whispers around campfires and muttered about by grandams in the tents of sheiks, so that all the tribes shun it without wholly knowing why. It was of this place that Abdul al-Hasred, the mad poet, dreamed on the night before he sang his unexplained couplet. That is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange eons even death may die. I should have known that the Arabs had good reason for shunning the nameless city, the city told of in strange tales, but seen by no living man. Yet I defied them and went into the untrodden waste with my camel. I alone have seen it, and that is why no other face bears such hideous lines of fear as mine, why no other man shivers so horribly when the night wind rattles the windows. When I came upon it in the ghastly stillness of unending sleep, it looked at me, chilly from the rays of a cold moon amidst the desert's heat. And as I returned its look, I forgot my triumph at finding it, and stopped still with my camel to wait for the dawn. For hours I waited, till the east grew gray and the stars faded, and the gray turned to roseal light edged with gold. I heard a moaning, and saw a storm of sand stirring among the antique stones through the sky, though the sky was clear and the vast reaches of desert still. Then suddenly above the desert's far rim came the blazing edge of the sun, seen through the tiny sandstorm which was passing away, and in my fevered state I fancied that from some remote depth there came a crash of musical metal to hail the fiery disk as Memnon hails it from the banks of the Nile. My ears rang and my imagination seethed as I led my camel slowly across the sand to that unvocal stone place, that place too old for Egypt and Meroe to remember, that place which I alone of living men had seen. In and out amongst the shapeless foundations of houses and places I wandered, finding never a carving or inscription to tell of these men, if men they were, who built this city and dwelt therein so long ago. The antiquity of the spot was unwholesome, and I longed to encounter some sign or device to prove that the city was indeed fashioned by mankind. There were certain proportions and dimensions in the ruins which I did not like. I had with me many tools, and dug much within the walls of the obliterated edifices, but progress was slow, and nothing significant was revealed.
When night and the moon returned, I felt a chill wind which brought new fear, so that I did not dare to remain in the city. And as I went outside the antique walls to sleep, a small, sighing sandstorm gathered behind me, blowing over the gray stones, though the moon was bright and most of the desert still. I awakened just at dawn from a pageant of horrible dreams, my ears ringing as from some metallic peal. I saw the sun peering redly through the last gusts of a little sandstorm that hovered over the nameless city, and marked the quietness of the rest of the landscape. Once more I ventured within those brooding ruins that swelled beneath the sand like an ogre under a coverlet, and again dug vainly for relics of the forgotten race. At noon I rested, and in the afternoon I spent much time tracing the walls and bygone streets and the outlines of the nearly vanished buildings. I saw that the city had been mighty indeed, and wondered at the sources of its greatness. To myself I pictured all the splendors of an age so distant that Chaldea could not recall it, and thought of Sarnath the doomed that stood in the land of Mnar when mankind was young, and of Ib that was carven of grey stone before mankind existed. All at once I came upon a place where the bedrock rose stark through the sand and formed a low cliff, and here I saw with joy what seemed to promise further traces of the antediluvian people. Hewn rudely on the face of the cliff were the unmistakable facades of several small, squat rock houses or temples, whose interiors might preserve many secrets of ages too remote for calculation, though sandstorms had long since effaced any carvings which may have been outside. Thank you for joining me for this week's Sci-Fi Focus. We'll continue this story in next week's entry. In the meantime, if you would like to read more of H.P. Lovecraft's work, you can check it out on Amazon or on an independent bookstore website, at your local independent bookstore. Bookmarks is such a place in my city, or at your local library.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at irreverent_nerds, plural. We are on Facebook. Our fan page is simply called The Irreverent Nerds. We're on YouTube, The Irreverent Nerd. And if you go to anchor.fm/irreverent nerd, you can support us for 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or $9.99 a month. You can also send us a voice message, which we may include in a future episode. Fellow nerds, until next time, make it so. Engage. Avengers assemble. I'm Batman.